What's going on, folks? Hopefully everybody's doing good. God, I can't even put these on there. This stupid thing's gonna end up freaking messing up. But anyway, glad you guys are here. Hopefully everybody is got the
Light switching. Light switching. Light switching. Light switching.
message that I was gonna be coming on here and doing a live broadcast real quick on the episode on the podcast. It's like glitching. Uh, so episode 21. I thought I'd do this a little bit early. Christ, I got a bunch of stuff going on. I don't know what's going on with this thing. Shut that. This stuff will work. Give me 1 minute. Sorry, give me a second. Oh, the joys of having children. All right. So, I don't know how you guys are doing, but it's hot as hell over here in Nevada. So, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm glad you guys are here. Glad you guys are showing up. I just wanted to touch bases with y'all about some stuff that I learned um, over the weekend that really baffled me. And I say this because I did not, I mean, I had an inclination, and I talked about this last episode on episode 20 about pre Columbus explorers and those who came before him and built buildings, built monuments, built things around America, South America, um, Canada. But I did not know or get an inkling of the vast exploration efforts of um, not just the Vikings, um, the Knights Templar, but and the Phoenicians. But the Phoenicians worked alongside the uh, Nubian tribes from Africa. And the vast exploration efforts of these tribes is mind blowing. Um, I was looking at Ivan Van Sertima. I think that's how you say his name, Sertima. And I was just like, wow, this is cool. This is amazing. And I've never, when you look at this, I'm going to play this video, but I want to copy the link and I'm going to let you guys take a look at it. Um, because like I said, it's mind blowing and it makes a hell of a lot of sense in the aspect of building of these mega structures, why they looked so similar, and you see them all across the globe, and the astronomical um, similarities between the astrological symbols or the meanings behind a lot of these structures because the same people built them. And in this book um, that Dr. Ivan Van Sertima wrote, I really highly recommend that you get it because I haven't even read it. I've looked at his videos on YouTube, which is why I got it. And if you don't get a chance to check it out on Amazon, it's like $4 or $6, but it's a must read. And if you haven't looked into this stuff, I really highly suggest that you do. Uh, because it's knowledge, it's information that's out there that I believe that everybody who is of Native American ancestry should look into and should uh, understand, because this really shows a part of our history and our culture. And not only just because of the Native American aspect side of it, but historically, we, as have always been told, oh, well, Columbus discovered America, and um, the Spaniards were, the ones who gave America new life, and colonized and civilized the American world. This refutes all of that, everything, and there's evidence to prove it. Um, like I said, I am going to. There is a series of these videos. I think there's 7 parts. And I really hope that you get a chance to check it out, because it is worth every freaking minute that you watch it. Um, Ivan Van Sertima goes in to discuss the evidence offhand, first off, of the West African tribes who, wow, I can't explain it. You have to watch it, but I'll just touch on some basis of the book itself. Um, it expands on everything that's on the video, because obviously it's him talking about it. But when you think about, okay, Egypt, okay, we think about, the pharaohs and the dynasty of the pharaohs and the greatness of what Egypt was, of Ramses, and you think of the Israelites, and the tribes of Judah that were held in captivity by Egypt, and you think of the movie 10 Commandments, and you see um, the pharaohs and all this great power and this wealth that they had over these other nations that they dominated and they conquered. But it's not in depth what we know or what we have been taught as a collective, as a whole. And he touches so much on this and expands on it in a way that you can put 2 and 2 together, and it covers the bigger picture. And one of the things that he talks about is this, is that the first Egyptian rulers, which is going to be touched on when I talk about how they found one of the Egyptian pharaohs in a British museum, and they did that whole uh, facial scan of the mummy, and they were doing the reveal, and the scholars were like, "Oh man, we're going to finally see what this Egyptian pharaoh." And the doctors, the scientists were like, "Yeah, he was a black man." And you see the scientists going, "Oh shit!" Like, they weren't like too intrigued by it, because you got to understand something. When everything that we discuss that goes against the grain of what mainstream academics have taught us, what they have been trying to shove down our throats for thousands and thousands of years, that you know European settlers dominated the world, the Roman Empire dominated the world, the Asian, China, and these cultures that were dominant over everybody, pretty much, you find out that it's not true. That before Columbus came to America, before Asia, this blew me away as well, is that the first tribal leaders in China were black. And it leads you to believe so, because you sit here and you say, okay, well, that's probably why Buddha looks black, because they were already there. They had already set up their presence in Asia through trade routes. And not only that, they had the ships from the Phoenicians, who were under their influence and rule, because the first Egyptian pharaohs, they weren't even Egyptian pharaohs, they weren't even pharaohs, they were kings, were black from in Africa. They dominated that region for thousands of years. And what he talks about is he says, okay, well, people say, okay, well, why did they even come west? Why did they even go looking for new lands? Well, he says is that what you have to do is you have to look back at what was happening during that regional time and that era, what was happening that would cause them to do something like leave their homes to find other lands. And he gets into the fact that Asia was moving west and was trying to start war and conquer the Middle East, and they were pushing their way closer to Egypt. And the Phoenicians, who were under the rule of the Egyptians, of the African king who was in control at that time, you got to remember is that the Phoenicians were master shipbuilders. They were master sailors, and they were not afraid to navigate and travel and expand their reach as far as they could by discovering new lands. And he says, you know, these guys out there doing this, they were out there traveling and exploring and finding new trade routes and new, well, you know, if I do this, where am I going to land? Or, you know, sailing all the way around Africa, coming back up into the Mediterranean, while European settlers or countries, I'm sorry, at that time were not doing that. They weren't, they were scared. They were talking about monsters in the ocean and destruction, and they weren't able to freaking, you know, leave their area of occupation because they were worried that something was going to happen to them. And you see these people, these peoples in South America, the Olmecs. And if you don't know anything about Olmecs, this, if you've ever seen any of these Olmec heads, this will, this should clarify it for you. Now, these Olmecs, these heads that were found all over the island, and not just there, but on other places as well, when they were dug up and they were found, they were facing east to the ocean, to where they came from. And these heads have headdresses, helmets, warrior helmets on their heads. I mean, look at the facial features. These were warriors who came over. And in the book and in the video I posted it here on the comments or the chat. So if you guys want to get a hold of it and check it out, then yeah, you're more than welcome to look at it, and I'll copy it again to the Facebook page. These warriors, the first king, there is so much evidence that links African culture to the root of almost every civilization in the world. And if anybody who has ever done an ancestry.com or a 23andMe, and you find out your genealogy of what your nationality is, a percentage of almost everybody is African. I know ours was like 16% because of our history of our ancestors of, you know, on my mom's side was higher because we're descendants of um, slaves that were on the East Coast in North Carolina and South Carolina in our tribe, the Lumbees. But that expands a lot more onto what I was saying in episode 20. When you look at the dominance of the Africans being turned into slaves in America, and not just in America, but in other countries, you find that it wasn't them. Yes, they were being brought over on ships. I'm not denying that, and I'm not refuting that. But a majority of the African slaves that were taken into slavery were not taken into slavery from Africa. They were taken into slavery here in the United States. They were already here. They were conquered, they were made into slaves. They were pretty much prisoners of war. And the reason why I say that is because the evidence that supports a lot of this, it's baffling, but it's mind-opening, because you see that in Egypt, the pyramids that were built by these African tribes, okay? And as I stated before, in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, he talks about building and constructing the pyramids. Now, if he was around when uh, and being the knowledge giver and giving the Africans the technology to do this and to build these structures. And then later on, you have the pharaohs coming in and assuming responsibility, or assuming, um, you know, the pyramids, they that they built them. And I'm not saying that any of the structures in Egypt weren't built by the Egyptians, but a lot of the cultural aspects of Egypt were because the African kings were the rulers, the first rulers in that area. Hieroglyphs, you see it in Egypt, but it was because of the African tribes in other areas had already started that. The Egyptian pharaohs and the people who came later on, because of the people from Mesopotamia ended up coming in and mingling with the tribes that were already there. They just adapted everything that was already in place. Um, you see the same thing in South America. The structures that were there, okay, and it already says that the Mayans were saying, we didn't build this stuff; it was already here. So if the Mayans took over the structures that were already there from the people who sailed across the ocean, okay, had already built the pyramids, came over and built these mega structures in Mexico, okay, and you see a lot of the similarities in the hieroglyphs in Mexico. And one of the things Dr. Ivan Van Sertima was saying was is that the pluming serpent, I think is what he called it, was not only in Mexico as a symbol of Egypt. In Africa is the same. They did from them because of the tribes that were already here that had intermingled with the culture and the natives that were here, bringing their knowledge, building these mega structures, are the same. That would make sense that the same designs that we see all over the world, the same structural measurements that we see in Europe and Asia, in America and South America and Africa, because these people brought it with them. These tribes brought it with them. And the king that sent them over to find this land, I think it was the Spaniards who came and they were asking him, you know, where did you get, he's there's a picture in the book. Let me see if I can find it, of the king holding this golden globe in his hand. It's made out of pure gold. And one of the uh, I mean, you've got. I mean, look at this. You've got the descendants of black governors in Ecuador. Look at that. They were descendants of a group of 17 shipwrecked Africans who gained political control of an entire province of Ecuador in a short order. These people were not people to be messed with. Um, it goes into showing about the ships that they were building that were, I mean, it's just mind boggling. The similarities in art and decor and the depictions of uh, these figures in Mayan cultures, um, and the similarities that you find with their artifacts that the Africans had compared to what the Mayans had, it was very similar in design. And that reason being is because they brought that culture here and shared it with the people who were already here. And one example, it says the trader god Ichua, many Indians of Central and South America and Mexico journey annually, even today, to what a Hyatt Verrill of the Museum of the American Indians labels a shrine or a Mecca in an obscure Guatemalan village. There they worship the Black Christ, whom they refer to in private as Ichua, god of merchants, husbandmen, and travelers, the god of jewelers, Neulupali, gold pectoral of Negroid god, hold on, gold pectoral of Negroid god in the National Museum of Mexico City. Now, this is, like I said, everything that, I bring up isn't just me just throwing it out there. This is just hidden evidence. Negroid stone head from Veracruz, classic period in American Museum of Natural History in New York. Now, they found this in a site in Mexico. And we've all seen these petroglyphs or hieroglyphs on, we sit here and think, oh, well, these Mayans, you know what I mean? This is all, they intermingled with these African tribes that were there because they stayed and they took wives and they had children. Crazy, man. Crazy. In this picture, it says compare a head of a Nubian chief on the left from an African Olmec head, a Negroid stone head on the right. Warrior chieftains. And as I said before, there are these stones that were found, these Olmec heads, all over in the areas, and some of them were even used as revered as altars or for priests. There are some that have openings from the ear that go all the way through the mouth with a flat opening on top, so that way they can use it as a ritual or an altar for them to speak to the people as they were doing these altars or worshiping these peoples that had came there as a way of reverence to them. I mean, it's just amazing. And then you see the phallic cults in Egypt and Mexico, phallic precision of a Mexican codex. Barbanacus holds artificial phalli. Olmec painting of a phallic figure from Oxty Total. Yeah. With the right arm upraised, Egyptian god Men from Mexican Hebu holding phallus and raising his right hand. Mexican terracotta figure with a man holding his phallus in the manner of the Egyptians' god Men. The similarities between the two cultures, it's it's crazy. But it opens up your eyes to understand that you have the similarities between, like it shows right here, an Egyptian god in Mexico, the god Sokar, winged god standing on the back of a double-ended serpent in Egypt, papyrus painting of the underworld compared with the god of Azapa in Mexico. In the Egyptian painting, the god stretches out his hands to hold up his wings. In Mexico, he does the same, and he also stands on the back of the same type of double-ended serpent and wears a foreign beard. Egypt, Mexico. And I mean, the similarities between the two cultures, and I'm not saying it's just them, but it's the fact of the matter that we were always led to believe, oh, well, Europeans were the dominant masters of the ocean. The Spanish, the Europeans, the Vikings. But it seems like that wasn't the case, is that the Nubian kings in Africa were dominating the world. And you got to remember, like I said in episode 20, is that Africa, the closest point to America is Maine. It's not that far. It's a short distance to get to America from Africa. And for them to be able to do so, it would not be hard. They could totally do it. So I put the copy of the video. It's part 1. Just keep following the links. It'll lead you to part 2 all the way to 7. I hope you guys enjoy that. This was, like I said, this is just something that I was throwing out there because it mind boggled me. But it made so much sense because they were talking about how in America they came into America and they were the dominant natives of America. You look at some of the native tribes that were the earlier native tribes, Africans. Even the African tribes of California. I didn't even know this. History just left out. See if I could find that for you. Check this out. Because this, like I said, this just baffled me. I had never heard of anything like this. Let's see. Stream. All right. All right, here we go. Check it out.
Have you ever heard of the epic tale of the Black Indians in California? Well, if not, we have got you covered over the next 5 minutes. Let's start here with the name Theodore Taylor Johnson, whose name might not ring a bell, but his story is one to remember. Johnson was an intrepid explorer hailing from the Garden State, New Jersey. In the chilly winter month of February 1849, he embarked on a voyage to the Golden State, California. His experiences, his encounters, his observations were all meticulously penned down, giving birth to his published work, Sights in the Gold Region. This wasn't just any book. It held the distinction of being the first to narrate personal experiences from the California gold fields. Experiences that were raw, real, and revealing. But among the nuggets of gold, Johnson unearthed something even more valuable. He documented his encounter with a unique group of indigenous people he called the Digger Indians. Johnson's epic journey to California and his accounts of the Digger Indians were about to rewrite history. But before we get into this epic story, we want to take a quick second to tell you about our special limited time offer. We are giving away free copies of our newest book, 13 Black Scholars Who Admitted There Were Black People in the Americas Before Columbus. This exclusive offer is our way of saying thank you for your incredible support.
Free copies of our newest
Dive
book.
deep into history with us and uncover truths that challenge what we've been taught. But hurry, this offer won't last forever. Click the link in the description and grab your free copy. Now let's get back to the video. Theodore Johnson's voyage to California was far from ordinary. Setting sail from New Jersey in the icy month of February 1849, Johnson embarked on a journey that would forever etch his name into the annals of history. The voyage to California was no pleasure cruise. It involved a perilous crossing of Panama, a land teeming with dense jungles and untamed wildlife. Yet, Johnson was undeterred. He was a man on a mission, a man with an unquenchable thirst for adventure. Upon reaching the golden shores of California, he took to prospecting in the Coloma Valley, a fertile land rich in mineral wealth. As spring gave way to summer, Johnson found himself returning to the bustling city of San Francisco, his pockets not filled with gold as he had hoped, but with a wealth of experiences and observations. But it was during this trip that Johnson made some truly remarkable observations. Johnson came across a group of indigenous people he referred to as the Digger Indians. This
That was
name,
not their
according to
name.
Johnson,
There's
was
a name for them.
derived from their habit of digging large holes in the ground for sanitary purposes, known as sweat houses, or from their custom of digging and eating various kinds of roots. Their principal food, however, consisted of acorns and preparations from them. Johnson
All right. Anyway. Come on. All right. So this is just one of the ones. You have the natives who were I it is just so mind-boggling to think, because it makes so much sense now that the similarities in cultures across the ocean and different aspects and different continents are similar. This would be why, is because they were traveling and giving this stuff and sharing it with the people who were there. And now, I mean, it makes sense why the cover up would happen of, okay, well, if the settlers who came and started dominating North America were like, wait a minute, because it was even said in Christopher Columbus's dictionary, okay, when he was asked about, he even spoke up and said, the natives who were there were saying that we were not the first people to come here. They spoke of these dark-skinned sailors who came from the east, and there was a golden spear that given to the chiefs. Columbus took this back on his second voyage, had the metal pretty much tested to see what was inside of it, and the same name of the spear that they had called it, I forgot what the heck it was called, was the same. The metal that was found was the same type of metal that was used in the tribes in Africa. Hello? And they called it the same thing. So if these tribes were being visited by these the natives were being visited by these warrior tribes from Africa, these merchant sailors, and they were staying there and intermingling because there's burial grounds that are being found. Mound builders. You have these tall, different structured than what you were seeing of these natives to America, South America, that had female bones next to them. It shows that they were there. They were intermingling with each other, which is why you started getting and seeing a lot of these tribes with darker skin. And these facial features, big cheekbones, lips, noses, the strength. A lot of the stuff, I mean, and for a lot of people, they don't want to, oh, there's no way. Well, that's the problem, is why we're having a lot of this stuff coming out now, and it's being, because you can't refute the evidence. The evidence is there. The researchers and the people who are finding this, like I said, Ivan Van Sertima, I think he is still teaching at one of the universities. Rutgers University. Pioneering work in linguistics and anthropology has appeared in numerous scholarly journals. Professor Van Sertima teaches Afro-American studies at Rutgers University. If I could pick this man's brain personally and sit down with him and find out a little bit more in the videos, please watch the video. There are 7 of them, but you can look up his videos that he has on YouTube or look them up on Google. You'll find it. You'll find it. Let me see if I can get this thing real quick. Hold on. Okay, it's already on this one, so you guys can look it up on the comments because I left it in there. Let me post it on the other pages so everybody will be able to check it out and take a look at it. Come on. I hope this was the right one. Yeah, there it is. All right. Sweet. All right. So I've got that out of the way. I think I got to do one more on my YouTube real quick. But like I said, once I start getting into this stuff and I start looking into it, I just want to share it with everybody to give you abilities to just look at this stuff, come up with your own conclusion. But I just think it's really freaking fascinating. It's freaking fascinating because it's our history and it's something that it was not told us, something that was being kept from us. We were being lied to all these years. And when you hear it from the mouth of the man who supposedly rediscovered, he wasn't the first one to be here. He was the last person to be here. From him saying that, I heard it from the mouths of these people talking about they gave them a spear. They showed me the spear, this gold spear. I took it back and had it, did a metallurgy test on it. And he's saying that the metal is the same from the same type of spears that they were using in Africa. So if the spear was given to them in America by these people who came from the sea, merchant sailors that they worshipped as God and revered because I'm pretty sure they dominated everybody. and Columbus is saying it from his own mouth, why the fuck are we even celebrating Columbus Day? Because you don't want the freaking people who were actually here that helped shape and make this country what it became, with the people, the indigenous people who were here thriving, even people that were coming into the cities and that were moving west, that were looking at the towns, were talking about how clean the towns were. They could freaking dwarf something that you would see in Paris and France. Why? Because these African native tribes that were in California and the West, the Apache, the Navajo, all these cultures should be sharing, or should be giving a lot of the praise to a lot of the Olmecs. No, I'm not saying they were the only ones that did it, but they were world navigators, because you not only find them in here in the West and in the American continents, but you find them in Asia. They called them Califians, California African American Museum. I ain't never heard of some shit like this before, ever, growing up in California. But they got it. Here, let me pull this up and I'll share this with you guys as well. But you've got pictures and depictions from earlier settlers who came to the West. They were black. They were already African tribes who were living in America. So, yes, going back to the slave days, does it not make sense that you would conquer the people who were already here and enslave them as prisoners of war? And as I said, I'm not saying that they didn't come or go to Africa to go get. I'm pretty sure that they freaking told them, hey, look, if you take me back this way, I'll show you how we got here. We'll sail to Africa. I'll do a deal with these people. And we'll freaking, you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure that I mean, you got to remember too that the slaves were not just sold by white people. They were sold by their own people, the tribes that were in Africa, to the white people. It wasn't just like a random thing where they were just like, took them over. And it's still going on today. But you see this. Let me share this. I mean, just look it up for yourselves. It's mind-blowing. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, is this just me? Is it just, me being like, holy crap, this is crazy? This totally makes sense now. And it just baffles me because it's like I didn't think anything of it. And it makes so much sense. And I said before, you find the evidence of it in China. I mean, look at this. Look, the first emperor of China was African. They helped them build pyramids just like you see in Egypt, in South America. Same structural designs, step pyramids. And that's why I said it would make sense that same people who built one that went to other culture, traveled, seafaring travelers were going to continents, were building the same dimensional looking structures. It just blew me away. Blew me away. Crazy, man. Look this stuff up. I mean, you will be amazed. Um, I mean, look at this. The culture is intermingling with the. Unbelievable, man. That a lot of the stuff that we've been led to know or that was hidden from us. Why? I mean, what? I mean, can you understand the severity of not sharing things with people or not sharing this type of information with people? Because it's some. I mean, why would you? It's like the whole thing with um, the likeness of Joshua being turned into a white man because they didn't want him to look like what they what they considered savage. We're not gonna, worship a god and have look like a savage. We would rather have them, look like a white person with blue eyes and a beard and long hair. You know, it's the same thing here. Is do not want people to think, oh, well, these savage cultures were dominating the sea and trading with other countries and continents way before we, the European countries, were ever able to do something like that. If that got out, oh, it would make us look inferior to them. So they're scared. They don't want to teach that in schools. They don't want to let people know the true history. I mean, and they even helped build the Great Wall of China. I mean, this isn't a rabbit hole per se of, theories, but it's a rabbit hole of knowledge that was hidden and suppressed from so many people, from everybody. I didn't even know it. I mean, not that I know everything, but I'm just saying, like, I love history. And for this to pop up, something, especially being Native American and thinking, okay, my ancestors were just, slaves that were, in the South, and they were, intermingled in our native tribe, in our Lumbee tribe. But it goes so much farther and deeper than that, that they were already here. They were already living in this land, thriving and progressing and having families and being able to sustain themselves and defend themselves in a manner that they did not have to seek out war unless they needed to. But they were overtaken by the force of, like I said, after the first settlers came here and started becoming dominant, it became overwhelming because it was like, okay, well, now we're just going to come into this new world and we're just going to start slaughtering these people and taking it over. Because as I said, they weren't traveling and sailing all over the place. A lot of the stuff that they were getting was just implemented from these tribes. Old maps, old navigation ways, old navigation system, how they seafaring. I mean, it's amazing. It's great stuff. It's great history. I know I'm going on and on about it, but like I said, this is just knowledge or something that I'm giving out so that way everybody could take a look at it and look at it at the point of view from opening up your mind and realizing that, as I said before, in everything that I try and share here, is this is stuff that we are not told because the narrative that we've been swallowing for years. And it leads me to believe that a black scholar, a black priest, it says in northern China, the blacks Africoids founded many civilizations. The three major empires of China were the Ji dynasty in 1900 to 1700 BC, the Shangyin dynasty 17 to 1050 BC, and the Zhou dynasty. The Zhou dynasty was the first dynasty founded by the Mongoloid people in China. The Ji and Shang dynasties were founded by black tribes living in ancient China. The key to understanding Chinese civilization is to remember the fact that both Ji and Shang came from similar ancestors. Unreal. Unreal. As like I said, you look at the pictures of Buddha and it makes total sense. Everybody's like looking at his hair and how matted it is and really tight curls that he has on his head, his ears, his mouth, his nose. And even in earlier depictions, it shows him with dark skin. It says the Negroids occupied most of Sichuan, Yan'an from Qiham in the southeast to Vongchang in the southwest. Many of the Negritos, Negritos, that's what they were called. That was the name that they gave them. Were forced into the Malay Peninsula by the advance of various Chinese tribes toward the coast after the Zhou defeated the Shang. It just, oh man, it's so amazing to see a lot of this stuff. And it just, like I said, it makes sense that if you have this domination of world culture by these tribes, see, these people weren't going in there and slaughtering the people that were there. They were intermingling with them and showing them stuff and learning them and giving them knowledge and teaching them about stuff, building and agriculture and food and medicine and bringing the heritages from these other places we're visiting from and giving this knowledge to the countries and the places where they were going to. They were expanding their empire, and they had expanded it to a vastness that it dwarfed the Roman Empire. And as I said before, this is, I mean, look into it, check it out for yourself, do your own due diligence and your own research. But I mean, look at that. I don't want to get on there. It's really cool, and it's something that I think is um, one of the things that has been hidden from us, because like I said, it's, you have these I hate to say it, but it's just, it's a thing of racial dominance. You have these white settlers and these lighter skinned settlers in Europe who were trying to dominate, and finding out that they weren't the actual dominant ones. And then once they were able to get control and dominate these people in these other regions, it's no wonder that they started erasing their history. It's a no wonder that they started telling people, well, you're going to start learning Christianity and you're going to start taking this religion and you're going to live like this and you're going to speak this language and not this language, or else. Because they started wiping out because if you can't have people sharing their story of who they are and where they came from, and knowing where their ancestors came from and knowing who their ancestors were, they can't, you can totally wipe it out from future history, from future generations of knowing anything about this. And it's really sad, really sad. So I hope that everybody enjoyed this. I hope that everybody, got something out of it. Again, the book that I haven't read it, but the videos that I got that I posted on here, check it out. They Came Before Columbus, the African Presence in Ancient America, and not only in America, but in other civilized continents around the world. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you guys look at it and, keep an open mind and understand that, this is why we're looking at things. And it makes me think too of, I had posted a question to, Billy Carson. I had messaged him on my page. I probably won't get an answer back, but when you're looking at ancient sites, like Göbekli Tepe, this makes me think that these people were Africans, because you're seeing a lot of the same similar structures there. The hieroglyphs, the pictures of the hieroglyphs that are there they look pretty similar to me. There is actually they are very similar to African carvings. Um, and this is going to blow the mainstream media. Once they start looking into this and start making the connection, I think this is what's gonna put the whole thing to rest. Is that we can consider these gods or these creators that came down and were teaching these tribes of how to build, how to sustain themselves, how to cultivate and farm the land, medicine knowledge, how to write, how to do these carvings to teach and to pass information along. Um, but here you have, like I showed that picture. Let me see if I can show this. This is one of the statues that was found at Göbekli Tepe that looks just like the one that I had showed you in the book. Same. And I would not be surprised if it came back that these African tribes were the ones who built this. And not just by themselves, but I'm pretty sure there was help from others too, because Göbekli Tepe is in Turkey. Very interesting. Very interesting stuff. So, as I said, if you have any thoughts or ideas on this, let me know. I would really like to get your guys' input on this and what your thoughts are regarding this whole issue or this whole topic. I'm sorry. Um, and as I said, too, to get to our second part of my topic of my discussion was uh, the whole thing of the presence of the Russian military in Cuba and their nuclear submarine being spotted off the coast of Florida. Um, and now they're holding training exercises in Cuba. And the authorities in Venezuela and Cuba are saying, okay, there's no nuclear arsenals allowed within because they're not going to be held responsible for anything that happens and don't want to be blamed for something or being in cahoots with Russia. But if you have not noticed or you have not heard, uh, Vladimir Putin is pretty much at his wit's end and is now stretching his military might and is going to possibly, if not already being done, arm countries that need his assistance that will be able to dominate and attack any Western threats. So, arming Iran, Yemen, North Korea, Mexico, Cuba, Venezuela, these sites that would be able to be stomping grounds for Russian military to attack U.S. targets if need be. I do not know if people really understand the seriousness of the threat that we are facing, especially when you're talking about hypersonic missiles that are able to travel faster than the speed of sound. There is no stopping these missiles if they do or if they ever get launched against the United States, especially if they are so close within range. It would be something I think that would be it would be very bad. I don't believe that people understand or realize the seriousness. Oh, well, they've done this before. They've held war games and had ships, you know, down south off the coast. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But and you look at what happened and why they are there and why President Putin has said what he has said and is doing what he is doing. Because the U.S. has pretty much just said, fuck that. We're going to arm Ukraine to hold strikes in runs. So Putin has said, if you're going to give them weapons to attack us, go to war with us using Ukraine as a proxy. And we've warned you. Putin has just released today, he had a meeting and he told the press, I have talked to Biden and I've told him, if you want to stop this conflict, give me 2 or 3 months and we'll stop it. But that doesn't seem to be the case. And you've got Senator Graham going on live TV and he's talking about, well, we need to be all in on this war because Ukraine has minerals that are rich within like $10 trillion worth. They are a rich country. And if, Russia gets their hands on it, we don't want to let them do that because they're going to share their wealth with China and other countries that are our enemies. They don't care about Ukraine. They don't care about the people of Ukraine. They could give two damn shits about it. The truth of the nature of why we are there and what we are doing there, why we are supplying them is coming out. They don't care. They are using this country to get what they want. They don't care about how many people die. They don't care about who suffers for it. And you have these other countries like freaking France with Macron, who's talking about starting a draft to send troops to go fight in Ukraine and fight the Russians. Now you see Russia saying, okay, well, if we're going to play this game, then guess what? The bets are all off. And they've done everything they can to stop from freaking this escalating. And they have literally called us an enemy state. So now we have Russian warships and possibly Russian troops, 300 miles away from us? 190 kilometers, I think it is, from Florida to Cuba. With troops able to leave now that our borders are wide open and come through Mexico. But it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen here in the next few days and the next week or so with this whole issue and this whole incident. A lot of people don't take that seriously, but those who have been in conflict and been in war and been in the military understand that war is not a pretty thing, and it is something that we do not want. I would never love to see. But if we have to do it, we will do it. And those who have never faced those types of threats and those who have never had to deal with or had to be put in those situations, people just don't care. They're too worried about their McDonald's. They're too worried about their 7-Elevens. They're too worried about their Walmart. And they're too worried about their Amazon. They're too worried about, oh, well, what about this? And what about what I can get? To face the threat of a possible war on our own soil, not only just a nuclear war, but an attack from somebody like Russia that is so close, and the detrimental effects it would have right now that the United States is weak and vulnerable, and everything our military is understaffed. We do not have the capabilities to fight this if something was to happen. We could hold it off for as much as we possibly can, but this then it would become something that would be detrimental, and we would have other countries stepping in, and it would just become an all-out world war. Um, these are scenarios that we would never hope to see in any lifetime. But here we are with all the crap and chaos that is going on. We, like I said, we will see what happens in the passing days to come. But I will leave you guys with that. I hope you guys are all safe and have a good day. Have a good weekend. Um, Remember to always question everything and always look at things from the point of view of an open mind. Don't be judgmental about stuff. It's always good to learn new things. Knowledge is power. And I will see you guys soon. You guys take care of yourself, and I will see you guys soon. Let me know what you guys thought about the video. Subscribe and like the channel. If you can, go to YouTube as well. Subscribe and like to the channel there. I appreciate everybody who has been following and who has been commenting on the links for the videos and giving me feedback on stuff. Thank you guys so much for being here. I will see you guys later. And remember, tomorrow's not promised to anybody, so handle your business today while you still can. I'll talk to you later.